right, we back with today's analysis. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it again. This was the last zone that we had yesterday. I just kind of threw it on there so that we could see where the original break happened. So when I showed up to the market today, I seen that price had broke this low of the 3 hour and that it was low probability. So right now we know price is impulsing to the downside on the 3 hour and it's in a retrace. It solidified the low and it's retracing. So, because of this retrace, we want to focus on this retracement on the 1 hour. Now, of course, let's go ahead and simulate to our time, which would have been 6 a.m. So we're going to focus on this retrace. But on this retrace, no structure is really broken. So what we want to do is find the last bit of structure on the 1 hour. So remember, the 1 hour and 3 hour, I want to keep structure as true and clean as I possibly can. So on the 1 hour, the structure low was here. And then price wick below the hidden break, and then it broke it right here for a one candle break. So this would be the highest point it pulled back to. So this is our 1 hour high, and it has the same low as the 3 hour. So we know that the 1 hour and the 3 hour are both impulse to the downside, and the 1 hour is now in a retracement as well. So we want to go to the 10-minute and focus on this retracement zone. So now in the 10-minute, we're going to look at the entire retracement, which started right here. So what we see is price pushed up, but it never broke the original high that was made. So now we need to find the next area that price did break structure. So if we pull back some, there was no structure really broken here. It looks like structure was broken here. We have to find the last solidified structure. So the last solidified structure was this low right here, right? Then price pulled back and broke it. And it is high probability because price broke here and gave a second candle push. So what we would do, well, actually, no. Remember, we don't go all the way back in time. We just look for the last break. So as we go up, we see nothing broke the high, but the last break was this little low right here. There was a low here, price pulled up, and then broke it. So what we want to do is go ahead and draw this 10-minute. Now, again, for me, I don't really consider this a test. I mean, I guess technically it did wick it just a tiny bit. I like to see my test go deep within there, so I'm not going to pull this back any, but we're going to identify it in our analysis. So price pull, impulse to the downside, creating a new low, pulled back, gave a small test, pushed off, rejected the low, pushed up, rejected. So now within the 5-minute, 5-minute structure isn't as clear as the 1 hour and the 3 hour as far as identifying the phase. So what we're going to do on the 5-minute is just focus on this phase right here. So now we're going to give ourselves 1 or 2 candles just because we showed up around like 7:15ish. And now we are going to go ahead and analyze. So for the 5-minute, we're just focusing on this area right here because there's no clear phase. Price started a retrace, it tested and gave the continuation, but now it's just stuck within here. So now we're just going to analyze the 5-minute based on whatever price is currently doing. So looking at the 5-minute, was their last high broken? This would have technically been the last high. It was not broken, which means we're just going to identify the 5-minute by this area here. Because if this wasn't broken, then what was the next last high? The next last high was right here. Because price pushed low, price created a low here, pulled back, broke the low to the downside, making this the high and this the low, and then price took out this high right here, making this the new high. And this high has not been taken out yet. So this is where 5-minute structure is, and it is low probability. So paying attention to this, price is in a retracement phase. Price impulse creating a new high. It pulled back, but it doesn't matter that it pulled back because this is low probability. Then pushed to the upside. And now it rejected this upside. So we're just going to kind of go to the 2-minute and see what structure is looking like. Focusing on this rejection up here. So at this rejection, what do we see? Was there a low broken? Almost. Let's give it one more candle. Now we can clearly see the low is broken. So where was the low? The last low was right here. Price re-pulled back, and then now it started pushing. So we can draw the zone. Well, first let's see if it's a second candle push. It is. So now we can draw the zone here. 2 minute. And now we just need to be patient and wait and see where price solidifies its low. Boom, price solidifies its low right here. So this is the 2 minute structure. So the only move we really have right now is if price pulls to this 2 minute and gives us a rejection, or the 10 minute, but that one would take longer. So let's see what happens. Boom, price gets up into this 2 minute. Do we get a rejection? Not yet. Do we get a rejection? Nope. Do we get a rejection? Yes, we get a rejection right here. 4.5. This was my first move of today. Stop loss would have been 11.5. All right. Let's see. Boom. We get entered into this trade. So the first thing I want to do is identify my 75% level, which would be about 8.6. We'll just do 8.7. Partial. And then go back to the 11.5. All right. So now we want to manage this trade on the 1 minute, because on the 2 minute, we see what the structure is. There's no structure for us to manage it here. So we're going to go to the 1 minute. On the 1 minute, focusing on the downside, was there any lows broken? Well, yes, there was. There was a low here. Price pulled back, creating a new high here. 1 minute, and then push to the downside. Low probability, of course. Right here. So now we're just managing it through 1 minute structure. So if price breaks above this high, we are exiting. We're not waiting for anything else. So if it breaks and closes past that high, we are exiting. Boom. Price pushes. Does it give a second push? Nope. So price created new structure with the high right here and a low right here. So let's see now what happens. Boom. Price breaks the low without breaking that high. So perfect. Let's see if it gives another push. Boom. We get a second push. We get a third push. Fourth push. Boom. Push straight through TP. So this was our first trade of the day. Our first trade was a W for the day. Wasn't going to be greedy, especially being on such a low time frame. Took our trade win here, and we exited. Now we're getting rid of our 1 minute information. Now, because price is still within this 5 minute open zone, we're really just following 2 minute structure until one of the 5 minutes is broken. So what we're going to do is just wait, honestly. We are just waiting. So we see price broke to the downside. Let's see if we get a second candle push. We do not. So we could take this zone away because it was tested incompletely in its completeness. It wicked all the way through here and pushed. So there's nowhere lower for it to test because it tested all the way through this zone. And now we can identify the low probability structure, which would be this high and this low. Now again, we don't enter off of 2 minute structure, off of 1 minute structure. So it being low probability, now that means we just wait because we're not going down to the 1 minute to look for entries. So we're just looking to see what does price do. Price breaks to the downside again. Low probability structure. So that means this pullback right here is the new high. And this down here is the new low. Let's see what happens. Boom. So price solidified the high by pulling back. Of course, we knew anytime we get like a big candle like this, it typically signifies the start of a pullback. We wait for that second candle, of course, just in case it wicks lower, but we already kind of knew this was the pullback, and this was going to solidify the low. So let's see what happens. No break. No break. So we get one break. Boom. So we get a 2 candle push. So what we want to do is draw our zone on. So we understand this is high probability for the 2 minute. And now we're just going to be patient and wait and see where it solidifies its high at. So its high was solidified. Well, not yet. Boom. So the high was solidified here on the 2 minute. Now, before we get all happy about the 2 minute, first we want to check the 5 minute. We got to make sure the 5 minute didn't break. So on the 5 minute, it wicked above, closed back below. So we're good continuing to follow the 2 minute structure and see what happens. So at this point, we are just waiting for a test off of the 2 minute zone, and we are in there. Do we get it? No. Again, price got really, really close, but it didn't wick inside of it. Again, I like to see price at least get into it some. So we're waiting for an actual test. Boom. So we didn't end up getting a test, but we did get a break of 5 minute structure. So once we got that break of 5 minute structure, we're going to get rid of 2 minute structure. Now we're going to keep the 2 minute open zone. Once a high probability zone is formed, we leave that zone until it is tested, one, or it's the end of our session. Because that zone is high probability, which means it can come back and play a big part in price at any point in time. Just because we're now on the 5 minute doesn't mean that that open zone can't come back and be a zone of importance. So we see we got a break here and a push here. So now we know that the 5 minute also has a high probability zone. So we have a 5 minute with a 2 minute zone within it. So we're going to leave it. Now, if we had a 10 minute, 5 minute, and 2 minute, we would have got rid of the 2 minute. But I think I'm actually start keeping those too, honestly. Just because you never know what zone price is going to react to. Once it creates high probability zones, we want to keep them until the end of our session or they're reacted off of. So now let's just wait and see. So this is the new, down here is the new high because price had a high here, pulled back, and now it finally broke. So we got to wait and see where the 5 minute high is solidified. Boom. So the 5 minute high is solidified here. Let's make sure our zone is up to 50%. It is not. We're going to pull it down just a little bit to match. Actually, right here. So I like this zone a lot. And we're just going to wait and see. Price can pull to the 5 minute, which at that point we're looking for 5 minute confirmation. But if it pulls all the way in here to the 2 minute, then we can get in off a 2 minute confirmation. So let's see what happens. Boom. Price pushed in, gave a 5 minute confirmation. This was my second trade of the day. Boom. Got in right here. For about well, we did about 7. We gave ourselves some breathing room. Did about 7 pips, which means we're looking for 16.5. Let's see. Boom. Price entered us in here. This second trade was an early exit. So I'm not even gonna draw the thing up here. I'm gonna just go to the management part of it. So on the 2 minute, when I was looking to manage it, I seen that no highs had been broken. It just pushed straight up. But I did see, so the last structure that was broken was this low right here, which was a high probability zone. So when I'm looking at this high probability zone right here on the 2 minute. So if price comes up here and gives a bearish rejection and passes it, that's an option to get out. But now I want to also go to the 1 minute as well to see if there's any better structure to manage it, which there is. Price made a high right here, pulled back, and then kept pushing. So I will identify this low right here on the 1 minute. And at the same time, I understand this is the 1 minute high. I can draw it on here actually. It's just, I know when I was live doing it, it was kind of hard to see because of it falling right there. But we'll wait and see. So we're looking for a break to the upside or rejection push down. So we can watch it on the 2 minute first to see. Boom. So on the 2 minute, this is our first rejection. So the minute it breaks and closes past this on the 1 minute, we're exiting because right, I would have my zone right there. So let's see. Next candle was a break and close. I early exited on this trade, and that was my second trade for a second loss of the day. Now, at the end of my session, I knew this open zone was here, and I was like, I feel like this open zone is going to get tested and it's going to reject off. So I did make the executive decision that if it did, I was going to reduce my risk and take a third trade. Yes, it's against my rules, but with any business, sometimes you got to make decisions. What I did, though, I asked myself, is this decision being made out of greed, or is it because I truly feel confident in this move? And for me, it was that I truly felt confident in the move itself. So because I was confident in the move, I looked at it. Now we'll go ahead and give the disclaimer. I didn't take the trade. I froze up. And I think a little bit of that came from knowing that I was taking a third trade outside of my trading plan. So before I even look to see if it rejects here, what I notice is price broke and it gave a second candle push. So this is a high probability area for a price to reject off of. So for me, I had already said if price rejects near the top of this zone, I'm not going to get in because it's too close to another zone that it can react to. But if it tests deeper in there, then I could get some pretty good profit before it ever tests there. So boom, price push down, gave a small entry confirmation, but the next candle was bearish and then gave us a pretty good entry confirmation here. Now the issue was I had my trade set up, but then price pushed right towards the end of the candle, so I didn't have time to set my market order. So I would have had to market execute, and then as soon as this candle opened, it kind of opened like right here. And I was waiting. I was like, if price pulls back a little bit, then I'll hop in. And of course, price just ended up taking off on me. So once it took off, I was like, it's okay. I already took my two trades for the day anyway. This was an executive decision trade. And I think this trade actually hit TP. Let's go ahead and exit this. And it did too. Or it at least it did. When price got to here, this isn't really a confirmation exit, so I would have waited. Price came here. Price gave a bearish confirmation here, but it never pushed down. It actually pushed through straight to TP. So that would have been a nice little trade to take as a third trade. Again, I just missed the entry and then price took off on me. But again, we took our two trades and I gave you guys a bonus trade that I was considering taking but ended up missing. So today was a pretty solid day. You know, we got a win. We didn't take a full loss again today, which is, remember, I mentioned this in the last couple videos. My goal now is I know I can't fully eliminate full losses, but I want full losses to be something that rarely happens. And the way that I can make it rarely happen is by once I'm in a trade, scaling down to the lowest time frames I possibly can to manage them and trusting that structure on those lower time frames. When that structure is broken, I'm getting out because I'll rather get out now and wait to see what price does than get stuck in there for a full loss. So we're gonna show up again tomorrow, see what happens. But today was a solid day. We took two really good trades. We had a third trade that we believed in. We just missed it. But again, whenever it's outside of my two trade realm, I never really beat myself up on it. I know if it was my second trade, I wouldn't have hesitated. Because it was a third trade, in my mind, I was like, I want it to be the perfect entry if I'm going to take this risk. And I didn't take the risk. And in this case, it would have paid off. But the same way it could have paid off, it also could have went against me. So I'm never going to beat myself up over not taking a trade that I already wasn't supposed to take. But again, I'm not going back on my executive decision. Once I sat here and thought about it and said, am I taking this trade out of greed or am I taking this trade because I truly believe in the move? I basically made the decision, well, if you're not taking it for greed, reduce your risk and take that third trade. And if you don't want to take it with reduced risk, then that'll prove that you are only looking to take this trade out of greed. And guess what? I was willing to go ahead and reduce that risk to take that trade. The issue is I just missed the entry. So today was a pretty good, solid day. again, just show up to the market, be patient, do your thing, man. I'll catch y'all tomorrow.